Hello everyone, Rurkan here, and today we're going to be bringing you another overview of Guild Wars 2. Now, I did an overview after I played through the beta. However, a lot of stuff has happened since then, and today with me I have Vextrinity. Say hi, Vex.
Hello.
And Vex has played quite a bit more than me when it comes to Guild Wars 2. Actually, he played quite a bit more than me when it comes to everything, because he doesn't have to spend any time editing stuff. That's why.
I didn't spend my entire life on Dark Souls.
Oh yeah, that too. That happens as well. You guys know that I spend a lot of time in Dark Souls. I'm doing research for you guys. That's why. It's all research. Stop trying to make me look bad, Vex. That's not what I'm paying you for.
Okay, I'll accept my check in the morning then.
Anyways, before we get started, I think that we should talk about our MMO background, kind of to give you guys an idea, the games we played and our experiences when it comes to MMOs. Now, I pretty much played almost every MMO under the sun. Now, I did Ultima Online a long-ass time ago. I did World of Warcraft, as most of you probably know. For the longest time, I did World of Warcraft. Also did SWTOR when it came out. I tested out Terra, and obviously Guild Wars, and now Guild Wars 2. So yeah, I've done a lot of MMOs and played a lot of them. How about you, Vex?
I played WoW and this anime-looking MMO. I can't remember. Oh, I played Vindictus. That was another one.
So World of Warcraft, Vindictus, and an anime-looking one.
Yeah, I've got, it's quite popular. I just can't remember the name.
Quite popular. It's not. Is it Lineage?
No.
I also played Lineage 2 for a long time, now that I think about it. So you can't remember the name, but anyways, it was one of those Asian grinders, most likely, correct?
Yeah, definitely a grinder.
Okay, so Vex has played those games, so this is kind of to give you guys an idea of the experience we have in MMOs, so that you guys can kind of see the perspective of where we're coming from when we're making these particular observations. Now, in Guild Wars 2, obviously as most MMOs, we have a whole bunch of classes, and we wanted to talk about the classes that we've played so far, so that you guys know also our perspective on the classes when we talk about stuff like the balancing of abilities and whatnot. So, me personally, I started out with a Guardian, which is currently level 44, I believe. I then proceeded on to create an Engineer, which is currently level 30-something, and now I'm making a Warrior. I mean, I just always end up going for the melee guy with a big shield slamming the crap out of everyone. I don't know why I tried being anything else. It's just wrong of me. But Vex, I know that you pretty much even had to buy extra slots in your account, right? To get all the characters that you wanted to play. So what have you played so far?
Right, I started off with the Necromancer. I got to level 8. Then I went on to my Elementalist, which I've managed to level to level 80. Then I went on to I started an Engineer at some point, got to level 2. I created a Hunter at some point, but then I deleted them to make space. So then I created, then made a Mesmer. I got that to level 36 or something like that. Then I made the Thief, which I've now got to level 72 or 73. But I played pretty much a small part of all the classes except for the Guardian.
Okay, good, which is a good thing because the Guardian is the class that I'm most experienced with. So, in between the both of us, you have coverage of pretty much almost all the classes except the Warrior. You haven't played a Warrior, have you?
I played a small amount of the Warrior actually. Got to level 8, I think.
Okay. So, anyways, these are the characters we've played so far. So now you can also get a grip on the expertise we have so far of Guild Wars 2. Vex, obviously, a lot more experience than me, has a level 80 and a level 70 character. So he's on his way to his second level 80 by now, which is pretty good. So for starters, I would like to talk about gameplay style, because each MMO has its own gameplay style. Like we know that World of Warcraft is kind of a bit of a mashy button MMO, so to speak. I mean, I think anyone that plays World of Warcraft is aware of this. A lot of times you're just bashing buttons and waiting on cooldowns. Other MMOs are more based around the simple cooldowns themselves and not so much in spamming abilities. But Guild Wars itself is purely cooldown based. There's no mana, so there's no need to worry about mana regeneration, running out of mana, and having to wait or anything like that. So
A little point on that, sorry. The Thief has initiative. It doesn't have cooldowns. They just spam spells as long as they have initiative.
oh, so the Thief is the World of Warcraft class.
Yeah, pretty much.
So actually they have, I wasn't aware of this actually, I haven't played the Thief, so they have actually a resource then.
Yeah, it's called initiative, and you can basically spam what you would consider the best spell for at that moment over and over again until you run out of initiative.
And does this scale as you level up? Like, do you get more initiative as you level up, or is it like a
You start off
static?
with 10, and there's a trait that increases it by 3. You can do things to gain initiative back. There's one that allows you to get initiative
Okay.
on critical hits.
But that's like traits and stuff. So basically, it does not. If you don't do anything and you level all the way up to 80, it does not raise from 10.
Nope.
So it kind of works like what was it called? The Rogue's Focus in World of Warcraft. I think it's called Focus now. It used to be called Energy, or is it still Energy? I don't know. Maybe it's still Energy. I haven't played World of Warcraft in a long ass time. But okay, I actually wasn't aware of that. So and each ability would have a set cost of initiative then.
Yeah.
Okay, so most classes work around cooldowns, apart from the Thief, which works with the initiative system. See, it's good. It's a good thing that I brought you along. But apart from cooldowns, it has this really cool system that I personally really enjoy, which is the fact that the first 5 skills of your character are determined by the weapon he has equipped. So the first 3 skills are determined by the weapon that you have equipped on your main hand. The last 2 skills are determined by the weapon you have on your offhand. If you're wielding a 2-handed weapon, all the skills are determined by that particular weapon, obviously. And that is a neat little system. The skills will unlock as you use the weapon, but once you get to like level, I don't know, 20 or something, pretty much killing one monster will unlock 1 skill. So it starts to get really, how should I put this? It starts to get kind of irrelevant once you get to higher levels, worrying about unlocking your weapon skills, because it's just getting 1 kill and it starts unlocking all of the skills for your weapons. Anything you wanted to talk about that, the weapon skill system?
I like it, but I don't know why you have to unlock skills. It seems a bit tedious.
I guess. I mean, it's kind of to get you that little something. It's filling a bar. A lot of people enjoy filling bars in MMOs. I'm serious. Like, you look at people in World of Warcraft, like grinding faction. What do you call it? It's faction, right?
Yeah.
And you're grinding faction reputation. That's what it's called. You look at a lot of people grinding faction reputation. They just enjoy, leveling up stuff, filling up bars, leveling achievements. You give people a bar to fill, and it's cool. And this particular bar, as you're filling it, also gives you new abilities to use. But it's only really relevant at the start of the game, because, like we said, later on in the game you can unlock everything like almost instantly. So that's not really a problem.
Yeah.
So apart from the weapon skills, there's also, but the only thing that bothers you though is the fact that you have to unlock them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I was actually annoyed at start, because it took a while for me to get used to it. I was annoyed with the fact that, like, for instance, I couldn't switch the locations of skills, I don't know, 5 with skill 1, for instance.
I don't mind that personally.
Me personally, that annoyed the crap out of me at start until I got used to it. But after you get used to it, you kind of start going on muscle memory, and it becomes absolutely not a problem. Now, that's for the first 5 skills.
Just to point out something different about the Thief again. They have a 3rd skill, that's called a dual skill, and that's not depend on what weapon's just in your first hand, it also depends on the second hand. So if you have 2 pistols, you shoot from both pistols.
Well, that's what I said. The first 3 skills are for your main hand.
Yes, but this 3rd skill is dependent on your main hand and your offhand.
The 3rd skill depends on your main hand and offhand. Oh, these thieves just think they're special for some reason. Freaking. Anyways, like I was saying, okay, so the thieves also get a special skill on number 3, depending on the weapon they have on their offhand. Now, besides the weapon skills, because as you guys probably know by now, the game has 10 total skills that you're allowed to use at any given time. There's another skill, which is your skill number 6, is usually a healing skill. Now, as far as I could tell, most classes have a choice between 3 healing skills that you can unlock. Am I right?
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
It's not always healing, it's called utility.
No. The 6th skill is always healing. It's always healing. Doesn't matter how you get around it. There's always going to be healing on that particular skill. It's either going to be regeneration or some kind of a defense that will then give you a health boost. It's always heal. I'm pretty sure of that.
I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay. And then after your healing skill, there's 3 more skills that you're going to get, those are the ones that you call utility skills. And utility skills can be healing related, buff related, damage abilities related. I mean, there's just a ridiculous amount of utility skills that you can have for each class. Like, for instance, the engineer would have utility skills to summon turrets. The warrior has utility skills that will grant him passive bonuses, and when activated would give you like a boost in damage or other things, or like he can set down a banner that buffs everyone around him. Utility skills are basically the skills that you can mix and match and fool around with, basically. And those are the ones that are going to define kind of your play style, so to speak. And after the utility skills, there's one more skill which is considered an elite skill. And elite skills are based around not only your class, but also your race. Certain races will have certain elite skills, like, for instance, let's say an Asura warrior will have a certain number of elite skills that will be the same as an Asuran guardian, for instance. I actually checked this with other Asuras when I was playing with my guardian. So I assume the other race is the same thing, like a human warrior might be able to have the same elite skills as a human guardian, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there's race skills, and it's not just elite, there's also a few utility ones, like Sylvari. For utility, can summon a seed turret, and their elite skill can be the kind of root themselves on the ground, and a ton of seeds turrets spawn around them, and that's the same no matter what class profession even you are.
Okay, so there you go. And there's also, later on, there's also like these super elite skills. The only difference is that the first elite skills that you're going to have access to will cost you like 10 skill points or something to invest in, whereas the super elite will cost 30 points or whatever. But that's getting too much into specification. So basically, what we're trying to tell you is the gameplay style that you're going to get is you're going to have 5 skills that are going to be based around the weapons that you have equipped, and then you're going to have 1 skill that's going to be your healing skill, 3 utility skills, and an elite skill that's going to be like usually a really powerful skill with a longer cooldown than the rest of your other skills. That's usually the way it goes.
And depending on your class, you'll have you might have skills attached to the F keys, like the thief has steel attached to F1. I think the ranger has his pet on the F keys.
I forgot about that. The profession skills. You also get like these special skills that are called profession skills, which will vary greatly depending on the class. For instance, the guardian has 3 skills. One of them puts a shield to everyone around him. The other one makes everyone around him do fire damage, and the other one heals everyone around him. So you have these profession skills that can range between 1 and 4 depending on your profession, and sometimes even the weapons you have equipped, like actually not the weapons, the skills you have equipped. Like the engineer keeps changing depending on the utility skills you have equipped. If you equip a flame turret, one of your profession and skills is going to be to throw out this glob of lava to the floor, for instance. The warrior builds up adrenaline, and his profession skill is usually 1 attack that will deal damage based on the amount of adrenaline you have. So yeah, there's also that. I almost forgot about the profession skills. I can't believe it. It's been a while since I played it, though.
Terrible.
Yeah, terrible me. And on top of all this stuff that you gotta manage, which is good, because I mean, if you start summing up all the stuff that you have to manage your build with your utility skills. You will also have to manage your traits, which is kind of like, let's say, traits are the talent tree in Guild Wars almost. It's not exactly like a talent tree, but it's where you're going to be getting passive bonuses and specific ability. It's actually more like a glyph system once you really look at it. If you look at World of Warcraft and the way they've done glyphs that change the way certain abilities work, like for instance, the warrior can have a trait that once you put enough points into it, you can select something that makes your axes do more damage, for instance. And so forth for other classes, like you can have turrets do more damage on engineers, stuff like that. It's going to be basically a lot of passive bonuses, or even bonuses that will apply to certain skills that change the way certain skills work. Like for instance, Guardians have a skill that works like Consecration, which is basically like an AoE that goes onto the floor centered around your character. There's a certain trait once you get to a certain level in a trait tree that will allow you to decide where you want to place the consecrations instead of just placing them on the floor, so to speak. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff traits are going to do for you. And apart from all this stuff that you have to do to manage your character, there's also dodging. And dodging is actually something really cool. So cool, in fact, that at least myself, I find myself now trying to dodge in other games by using the same keys as we use in Guild Wars. It's just such a convenient thing. It's like dodging. Basically, you have you have a bar that constantly fills up, and once it gets to the middle of the bar, you have 1 point for dodge. Once the bar is fully complete, you have 2 points for dodge, which means you can dodge twice. And it's a very strategic kind of thing. It's like you look at a specific enemy and you notice that he's about to do an attack that's really going to cripple you or do a lot of damage, and you can double tap in any direction and your character dodges in that direction, effectively dodging the attack that the enemy was aiming at you, so to speak. And that is so good that sometimes I'm playing Borderlands with Vex and it's like we're just shooting stuff and all of a sudden I just double tap forward trying to dodge a monster, but it doesn't work.
Can you dodge sideways in Guild Wars?
Yeah, you can dodge sideways.
My character just turns a bit. I always get hit.
Oh, it's because you're using keyboard turning.
Yes.
Well, if you, instead of using keyboard turning, use strafe, you can double tap sideways and it works.
Ugh.
I'm pretty sure that works because that's what I do every single MMO. The first thing I do, no keyboard turning, switch the turning keys with strafing keys, and that's that. Always. You turn with your mouse, man. Come on. This is basic
that's what
stuff.
I do. Well, when I'm running, at least. I'm not sure what I do during fights.
Okay, so, I mean, that's kind of the gameplay style that you can expect from Guild Wars. All the combat is obviously real-time. There's no turn-based. And it's just a lot of fun. And there's stuff that you can do in combat, like, for instance, there's like special effects that you get in combat that will actually like throw your enemies into the air and crazy things like that. I really like it. Like, for instance, with the engineer, you had this shotgun blast you could do, which would knock you back, but it would also knock the enemy back. Cool. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do and a lot of cool effects, and the animations are really, really good when it comes to combat. So yeah, there's that. Anything you want to add when it comes to the gameplay style, combat, and so forth in Guild Wars 2?
Combo fields.
Combo fields, yeah. Combo fields are also awesome. There's this mechanic in the game which allows you to combo with your character by yourself as well as with others. Certain skills will have an attribute called combo field, and other skills will have an attribute called combo finisher. And once you combine those two, once you do a combo finisher while inside a combo field, or if your skill goes through the combo field sometimes is enough, you will get special effects added on top of your skill. Like an example that I can think of is, for instance, when you do the, what's it called? There's an ability the Guardian does. I'm not sure if it's called Consecration. I'm probably mixing it with the World of Warcraft skill, but it's basically the same thing as a Consecrate. I think it's called Consecrate Ground. I'm not exactly sure, but basically it is a skill that puts an AoE on the floor that does fire damage. Any class that has a combo finisher can go into that field and deal their finisher, and it will add like bonus fire damage.
Yeah.
What other combinations?
Physical projectiles also do that. like if you say shot an arrow through a few, most AoE ground things are combo finishers in some way. So if a physical projectile flew through that, it would apply the effect.
The fire damage as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the cool stuff about it as well. Like once you really start getting into the nitty and gritty of the combat system, you become to take notion of all these amazing systems behind it that really make it stand out. The combo system is just one that was escaping my mind. But it's again, it's an awesome system, and you can even do combos with your own class. Like for instance, I remember the Guardian. I used to have that consecration thing, and then if you were using the hammer, the two-handed hammer, you could also do a combo finisher with the hammer. So you would jump on top of someone that was on that field, deal the damage from your skill, plus an extra explosion of fire all across the combo field itself, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Any particularly devastating combos that you can remember of right now?
For the thief, if you go dual pistols, you have this thing that shoots a blinding bullet and puts like a smoke screen around you. And then each it stays there for about 5 seconds roughly. And each bullet you shoot with your auto attack blinds your opponent. So you can basically apply perma-blind as long as they don't attack too quickly and they don't do any damage to you.
Oh, so basically you put like an AoE smoke screen in front of you, is what you're saying, kind of. And then you shoot through it and it blinds your opponents.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very nicely. That's pretty devastating, because blind is an effect in this game that is really, really punishing.
Yeah. Well, makes basically any single target attacks miss. AoE still hits though.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I know that it's really punishing because when I was playing with my engineer, I used to do blind all the time to keep the mobs from destroying my turrets. And it was pretty effective. Like, they would be charging at my rocket turret, not being able to smash it, and a rocket turret can deal a crap ton of damage. Let's just leave it at that. So yeah, those are the combat mechanics and skill mechanics that you can expect from Guild Wars 2. They're pretty damn awesome, if I can say so myself. It's good because, oh yeah, also something that I've noticed that not a lot of MMOs do is that your auto attacks, they hit everything that is in the path of your weapon.
Correct?
Yes. You've noticed that as well. Like if you aim, let's say even with ranged attacks, let's say you have 3 enemies in front of you. If you aim to an enemy that's behind the other 2, and the other 2 are somehow in the way, the bullet goes through everyone.
Wait,
Same
what?
thing. You didn't knew that?
Well, if I use a pistol on the thief, for example, if something stood in the way of my target, it would just hit the thing that was standing in the way. It wouldn't hit my target.
I guess rifles are a little bit more powerful then. I've
Perhaps.
done that with a rifle. I've pierced through targets and hit multiple targets with the same shot.
Is that with just auto attacks?
With auto attacks.
Unusual.
But just remember that the auto attacks themselves are skills.
Yeah, I know.
There's no such thing as an auto attack, so to speak. You can just set a specific skill, usually the number 1 skill, to constantly trigger. But it is a skill in itself. Like, for instance, all the auto attack skills that you use in the Guardian, most of them will do an extra effect. Like if you use the mace, the 3rd attack will actually heal you. If you use the hammer, the 3rd attack will actually create an area of field effect that will also protect everyone inside it and make everyone inside it get like a thorns effect. So if someone hits them, they take damage back. So even the auto attack skills themselves are skills, and there are proper occasions to use a certain weapon over another one because its auto attack skill does a specific damage modifier or AoE effect, something like that.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go into other aspects of Guild Wars 2, just because to try and get this overview as much detailed as possible. So now I wanted to talk about zones versus global map. This is just a quick topic to kind of tell you guys how these things work in Guild Wars 2. So Guild Wars 2 is split up into several zones. Each time you enter a zone, there is a loading screen. This does not mean that that zone is instanced and for you only in any way, shape, or form. This zone is shared by all the players in your server, unless the zone happens to be full, in which case you will be placed in an overflow. which will still allow you to play and do your quests and do all the stuff you want, but you're not going to be in the main zone, so to speak, because that zone happens to be full. Although it hasn't really happened as much for me since the first 2 weeks of launch. Has it been happening to you, getting stuck in the overflow?
Only in Lion's Arch.
Yeah, because Lion's Arch is the ultimate capital, so to speak.
Yeah.
So Lion's Arch is like the mega capital of the world. It's like during the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, there was one city, and I'm going to be making a lot of World of Warcraft references because it's just easy to make those references, and a lot of people are going to understand them. So
it's the most popular one, so makes sense.
it's the most popular one. So in Lich King, there was this town called Shatra. Most of you probably heard about it. And Shatra was the ultimate capital simply because there were portals that would take you to any of the other capitals in the world. Well, in this game, it's pretty much Lion's Arch because, again, there's portals that will take you to any of the other capitals in the world. So, yeah. But like I was saying, the game is split up into several zones. There's cities, and then there's zones where you, I would say, quest in, even though that definition is not necessarily correct, because you're not actually questing, you're just kind of exploring and doing exploration stuff most of the time. And yeah, the game is basically split up into several zones. Now, what this does is, in my opinion, it allows you to have some better performance because instead of loading a global map, instead of loading the whole world at once, you're basically just loading the zone you're entering in, which kind of allows you for better performance at the cost of seeming that the world is a little bit smaller almost. Would you agree?
Yeah. Can break the immersion, you could say.
Yeah, it can break the immersion a little bit because you're like, oh, I need to move on to this other area. Oh, I got to go through this portal thing. I mean, it's not game breaking, but there are some people who are really nitpicky about that kind of stuff. But let me just explain. This is very different from what happened in Guild Wars 1. Because a lot of people still believe that Guild Wars 2 uses the same system as Guild Wars 1. And in Guild Wars 1, what happened is you would go into a city, you would form a party, and once you exited the city, that was an instanced zone just for you and your party. This is not what happens in Guild Wars 2. In Guild Wars 2, once you enter a zone, it is the same zone for every player unless you happen to get stuck in the overflow. And if you're in the overflow, there's going to be other players in the overflow as well. So you're still going to be interacting with other players even while you're in the overflow. Also, when you get in the overflow, you're automatically set into a queue to take you to the main instance, to the main zone. And basically, once it kind of is your turn, you can just enter the zone itself and get out of the overflow. So basically, it's a zoned system versus the global map system that you have in World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft is also a zone system. It's just the zones are ridiculously huge because I believe you can't go from Eastern Kingdoms to Kalimdor without a loading screen. It's just the zones in World of Warcraft are so huge you barely even notice you're in a zone. Whereas these zones are also pretty big, but it's more noticeable that they're zoned sections.
Yeah.
They're also clearly identified and tell you which level you should be at for a specific zone. Like this zone is from level 15 to 25, this zone's from level 25 to 30, and so forth. Anything else you want to add regarding zones?
I don't think so.
Yeah, zones is a pretty simple topic.
Yeah.
We just wanted to kind of cover it as well. And now I want to talk about questing instances. Now, questing instances is important because basically in certain quests that you're going to be doing, the game only really has one quest. And we're going to get into more detail regarding that a bit further on in this overview. But most of the time, you're only going to be working towards one quest. But that particular quest will take you to something which I refer to as questing instances, which is you will go to a specific zone in a specific location, and in order for Guild Wars 2 to personalize your experience of the game and kind of give you this RPG-type storyline, as opposed to constantly asking you to kill 10 boars or kill 50 of these monsters or whatever, what the game does is it creates these smaller instances where you can experience your particular storyline These are called questing instances. At least that's what I like to call them. And they're usually spread out throughout the map as you're progressing through your main storyline. I just wanted to mention this now because it's kind of in the same theme as zones and global map. Anything you want to refer to about questing instances? We're going to get into storyline later, though. So
Yeah, if we were just getting into storyline later, not much else to say, I suppose.
okay.
It does lead you through the global map quite well, because you'll be into a zone that you can then do the hearts and stuff in that. So
Yeah,
you're not going to a crappy zone.
exactly. Usually, what happens is your quests will have a certain level to them, and usually these questing instances will be in a certain zone. So the game is kind of taking you along your storyline, and it will eventually converge with the storylines of other players. And you can, and there's actually a good thing that I didn't mention, that you can actually party up with your friends, and you can join their questing instances and experience their storyline and helping them out. And I'm not sure if you knew or not, Vex, but that actually scales the difficulty of the quest. Were you aware of that?
I didn't know, but I assumed.
Because the other day I did one quest that I had done with a friend of mine previously, but when I did it with my friend, there was 3 of us. And I noticed that at the end we were all dying, and we actually had a level 80 with us, and he was still dying, because obviously the game scales you down. Usually your level will always be appropriate for the zone or the questing instance you are in. Like if you're level 80 and you join a friend of yours in a level 20 zone, the game will scale you down to level 20.
It's generally, what I read was it's the level +1 when you get skilled.
Level +1 when you get what?
And when you get skilled down, it's like 1 level above the recommended level for the zone or something like that.
Okay, so the higher level players are still a little bit more powerful, but not overpowered. I mean, I've myself have died quite a few times going into lower level zones and helping out friends, because the content is still challenging, and that's actually something really, really positive in my opinion, because a lot of these games you usually want to play with your friends, but due to the fact that one of you is maybe higher level than the other, you can't. Because, I mean, suppose like in World of Warcraft, I'm level 40, you're level 85. You're going to come level with me, you're going to steal all my experience, you're going to kill all the mobs with 1 hit, and there's going to be no challenge whatsoever. And so I'm going to level slower, and there's not going to be a challenge for our group, whereas in Guild Wars, it's different.
I should point out that during the much lower levels, because I've been running around exploring the map a bit on my Thief, say between about 10 and 30, it does make it a good amount easier. Say you can generally kill something in 1 combo, maybe 2.
But still, I mean, in World of Warcraft, you would auto-attack them once. Here you still have to use your skills a little bit. But basically, it makes it so, like, for instance, right now, Vex has a level 70 Thief, and I have a level 7 Warrior. We can go play together, and it's not going to be like a cakewalk, and he's also not going to steal all my experience.
Yeah.
Which is a really positive aspect, I think. It allows you to basically play with your friends regardless of level, most of the time. Obviously, you can't take your lower level friends with you to the higher level areas, but it does work the other way around, so it all works assuming the higher level party is interested. So yeah.